Get in, nerds. We are playing Burden of Command. We are on the Sicily beachhead, and we are about to aid our men. Webroot is very pleased with itself. So, let's take a quick look here. Lieutenant Thompson's got a point of stress. In order to reduce this, it's going to cost 2 loyalty. I think that's definitely worth it. I do not want my fellas getting stressed. Okay, so this is where combat fatigue is at. So Wilson and Dearborn both have combat fatigue. Again, if I could see where they were at with realism, that would be really helpful for me. But I don't see that as something that's possible right now. All right, so first squad of first platoon has 2 casualties. I think I'm going to replace them both with experienced troops because I'm still trying to get them up in experience. So we're going to spend that prestige. Second squad of second platoon is in the same boat. They're close to being 5-star, but I'm not super worried about that. So we'll hit them with a less experienced recruit. I'll put them in right in the middle of the experience track, and then finally, first squad of third platoon is pretty is still at 3 stars and close to 4. So I'm going to give them an experienced recruit. Now I've got 10 loyalty to play with, which means I got 5 experience bumps. So where do we want to throw those out? I wish I could get Lieutenant Stern up to at least 1 star, but that's not going to happen right now. What about Thompson? He's going to cost a pile of prestige. Again, I'm gonna hold on to my prestige for now. So we'll focus on the troops. Um, Temptation is high to let's get these mortars up close to 3 stars, and we'll do. Let me see who's close. Who's close to over the line? First squad of third platoon is close, so we'll hit them with a little bit more XP. Um, First squad of second platoon, I could get over the line by spending 2. Ditto second squad of second platoon. But third squad of third platoon is kind of lagging behind, so they're also a reasonable target. I'm gonna be a little suboptimal and spread this out a bit. Let's get the MG squad and weapons platoon up one more, and we'll get. So I could level up the mortars, or I could level up third squad of third platoon. I'm really concerned because Dearborn's squads are really lagging behind. I think I want to get them up to level 3. There we go. That'll be good. Now from here, I've got a little bit more prestige to play with. And I think I'm going to try to get Stern. Stern is very, very close. So I'm going to shell out my 5 to get him up to within spitting distance of level 1. And unfortunately, that means Thompson's going to still be kicking around where he is, but that just is going to have to be what it is. So, that is the Aid the Men screen. Let's take a quick look at where we are from a combat fatigue perspective. Captain Murphy's got 86. Captain Thompson's got 13. Lieutenant Thompson's got 13. He just showed up, so it's not shocking. Lieutenant Wilson is at 1 level of combat fatigue. He's got 105. Lieutenant Dearborn is 119. And then finally, Lieutenant Stern is at 51. So, we're making good progress on the combat fatigue. Lieutenant Thompson does have a good amount of trust. I can't increase that because it costs a huge pile of loyalty. So that just is what it is. All right, that's the Age of Men screen. Let's continue our journey and head on towards the next mission. Palma di Montechiaro. 11th July, 1943. The next day. Boy, I don't love this map so far.
General Patton's veterans of Tunisia make for the southwest. Units of Canadians, Australians, and French are taking part in the attack. Naval guns cover the landing.
Yeah, they sure did. Fucking pulverized that village. The inter-service rivalry is real, friends. This campaign has
Tons of supplies and equipment are ferried ashore.
shown us a lot of
At many
Navy,
points, troops waded in, surprised to find much less resistance than expected.
a real infantryman's perspective on the Navy. That's what I'll say about that. I'm sure the Navy has equal feelings about us. 10th July, 1943, 2000 hours.
Some folks these days will tell you the Italians had no fight in them. Trust me, those folks are wrong.
The sun dips as Nickel Company marches down the road. A rifle cracks out and breaks up the rhythm of the Truscott trot again. Once more, the men leap into dusty ditches, rifles leveled at every suspicious shadow in an olive grove or lump in a field. But nothing comes of it this time. The Italians are retreating faster than the Cottonbalers can chase. Wish they'd just fight us? Where are they going? It's like the road to Casablanca all over again. Another day in Sicilian paradise. I'm going to go with another day in Sicilian paradise. Prisoners dribble back toward the beach. The wounded are paired with the lucky. As the sun dips down, the order finally arrives from battalion. Halt and dig in. Counterattack expected. You send runners to pass along the change in orders. Once word has come, you head out to personally review each platoon's position and how they'll support one another. Hurry up and wait, Lieutenant Stern grumbles as he inspects the machine guns he has covering the road. The usual 10 yards apart. Like that parched little road to Casablanca all over again. This is the Army way. It'll be a nice warm night at least. Casablanca was better defended, and we still took it. Yeah, it'll be a nice warm night at least. Shucks, sir, I thought Morocco turned out great. Okay. Weird. Morris drawls in an overly pronounced southern accent as he and the rest of 1st Platoon dig in beside the machine guns. Except for the sand, the fleas, and getting shot at by the French, it was paradise. Our captain would agree. It's hard not to grin at that. He's just upset about the beach landing, Patterson replies as he watches the sun sink behind the western hills. See, 1st Battalion got to land first and have their pick of the pillboxes, left or right. A ripple of chuckles carries down 1st Platoon's line. You notice Lieutenant Thompson as he mixes amongst the platoon, chatting and listening in turn to each. His eyes go wide when he sees you looking over at him. Anxiously, he hustles over. All set here, Captain. 1st Platoon is... Well, they used to be yours, right? I mean, before. Lieutenant Thompson notes hesitantly. Before I ascended towards godhood? Something magical about a promotion. Yes, I believe that was before. He knows the answer. Before I ascended towards godhood? I was gonna say, Thompson replies falteringly. I mean, I'm looking after the men as best I can. Keep an eye on Roberts, always. Discourage him. Okay, so this encourage or discourage Thompson mechanic feels like it's going to pay off a little bit later on. Keep an eye on Roberts, always. Discourage Thompson, no additional positive or negative events for 1st Platoon. Remind Crosley to keep his balance. Encourage Thompson, limited positive and negative events unlocked for 1st Platoon. Morris and Patterson are alright, but only in small doses. Strongly encourage Thompson, additional positive or negative events unlocked for 1st Platoon. Look after them and listen to your sergeant. Thompson gains +5 trust, +3 initial suppression. Okay? They're your men and you lead them, no effect. I'm going to tell him to keep an eye on Roberts, because I think discouraging Thompson a little bit might be the way to go. As Sergeant Grant, aka John Burden of Command, told me last battle, this is being called out, discourage versus encourage, so I think I would love to get him a little extra trust, but I don't want him to have suppression. So, and then this removes no additional events. Well, on the other hand, I kind of want to see the events. Nah, less variables tend to be better for the player. Less variables tend to be better for the person projected to win, and in most situations, that's the player. Keep an eye on Roberts, always. I've seen why, Thompson says. Roberts found every donkey turd in the road, some of them twice. Lieutenant suppresses a small chuckle. But I'll keep a keen eye out so you don't have to. After all, I imagine you've got larger matters, company matters, to consider. He's right about that. Even with Lieutenant McGuire recently attached as your XO, helping out with the logistics, it's still hard to run a company during combat operations. Ooh, got a little map here. Nice little napkin map. Checking on Wilson and his platoon. Captain Ian's morale reduces combat fatigue. Check up on Dearborn and his platoon. Attempt recon. Stride over and see what Stern is upset about. Remove negative ammunition events. Return to Nickel Company's command post. I would love to reduce my combat fatigue, but also, I don't like the idea of negative ammunition events. This battle could be a shit show. I'm going to stride over and see what Stern is upset about. You find Stern by the shallow scrapes of his platoon's mortar pits, staring frustratedly at a pitifully small amount of rounds. Small pile of rounds. All the ammunition his platoon can carry off the beach. Captain, Stern begins before he can get in a word. It's not enough. We need a truck or jeep to haul enough ammo to make a difference. I'm listening. Remove negative ammunition events. Don't worry, we'll figure this out. I'm listening. Both of these are remove negative ammunition events, so I'm going to do the first one. With artillery not up yet, we'll be flicking spitwads at the enemy before long, Lieutenant Stern says. But if we could carry it forward by truck, we could lay down a righteous barrage when we need one. He's not wrong. A mortar without ammo is just an expensive length of pipe. Think we should steal a truck? Local bearers? Donkeys? So, here's the thing. Realistically, armies requisitioned stuff when they were in the field, aka they stole it. The army walks into a town. If you've got a truck and the army wants it, they steal it because they got guns and you don't. It's like, and basically the commanders don't stop them as long as they're using it for army purposes. Like that's a thing. That's a thing that happens, and I'm not shy about that. With that having been said, I think the supposition here is that this is a little bit of a reprimand. You think we should steal a truck? Donkeys? If there were any, Stern says, saw a few as we were coming in, it was the gosh darndest thing. Crossley kept yelling at the men to get his ass off the beach, and everyone was laughing at that. You lose Stern to his ammunition. Right now you can advocate for much more. Amid the dying light of the day, you find Lieutenant Colonel Heintges already at the command tent. He's not alone either. I am going to make a note in my phone to forever to look up how to pronounce Heintges, because right now I still have not done that. Heintges. He's not alone either. There's a busted up enemy machine gun in Nichols' armor, Tech Sergeant Arthur. The two peer down the long metal strip dotted with cartridges, an Italian ammo clip. Which is why they oil the cartridges and not the chamber? Lieutenant Colonel asks. Ah, the glory of the crappy Italian machine gun. We got a lot of Italian gear lying around. Know thy enemy. Know thy enemy. There's a maxim for any commander. If there's a maxim for any commander, it is to know thy enemy. The fewer surprises, the better. Yes, sir. And that oil gets it bad. Tech Sergeant Arthur replies, like wax and honey, which leads it to jamming, all because of those charging clips. The Italians are braver than I thought, Heintges concludes. With that point settled, he looks up at you. Ah, Captain. I hope your time with the men was well spent. Your commander stands and fishes an oil-stained map from his pocket. He points at a town on it, circled in heavy pencil. Palma di Montechiaro, Heintges says. The Italians hold it, for now. Tomorrow at 0430, 3rd Battalion, less your company, will swing in through these hills to the south, while elements of 1st Battalion flank them from the north. Once both battalions make contact, Nickel will push through the town in the eventual objective of getting astride the road to Agrigento. Putting all the Italians in the sack, kicking the door down with this whole flank, nearly defeating the Italians here. That'd be quite a coup. Yes, sir, we'll do it. Kicking the door down on this whole flank. That's the plan, Colonel Heintges says enthusiastically. Questions? Will you have artillery? Reinforcements? Armor? We'll need something. Ask for additional support. Recon? Consider reconnaissance options. I know we'll need more mortar rounds. Earn positive ammunition events for Stern. No questions, sir. 1 prestige. I'm not going to take 1 prestige over the possibility of freaking armor or artillery support. Reinforcements? Armor? We may need something. Afraid not. 2nd Battalion has first call on those given the enemy counterattacks that they've been facing. Lieutenant Colonel Heintges says. We got a few jeeps with machine guns, and even those will probably be more useful for ammo runs than ferrying the wounded back to the beach. I've got a lot of stragglers. I'd like them back. Gain 2 mediocre squads. What about the Rangers? Gain a well-trained squad, not Rangers. What about the Italian AT gun we captured? 200 ask for additional support. Ooh. What about the Italian AT gun we captured? You want to use your piece from the beach? Lieutenant Colonel Heintges asks and considers his reply. Why not? This isn't a general's paperweight, though. Ammo might be an issue. Ammo might be an issue, though. I can have it all brought over if you want, but I think your mortars would be hungry. I'll take as many mortar rounds as I can get. Positive events activated for mortars. Tow in the gun and split the ammo. Gain an AT gun. Small positive ammo events activated for mortars and the AT gun. Or I want that AT gun and all the ammo for it. AT gun added. Positive ammo events activated for the AT gun. I'm going to split the difference. I use the mortars a lot, or at least I should. Heintges raises an eyebrow. I thought half and half only works for coffee, but this is your operation to run, and I trust you'll manage it. What else? Hot barrel coffee on the Jeep. Small positive events activated. Nothing else, sir. Plus 1 prestige. We're going to get prestige from winning the battle. So much. So all of this, like, extra prestige to not ask for stuff, no reason for it. It's counting our chickens before they hatch, putting the cart before the horse, and other aphorisms. Barrel hot coffee on the Jeep. A little blackstrap coffee to go with men's cold breakfast, Lieutenant Colonel Heintges asked knowingly. Absolutely. Coffee in a garbage can. Oh my gosh. This particular image shows American soldiers in Northern Ireland, August 1942, and comes courtesy of the National Archives at College Park. Nice. Lieutenant Colonel Heintges departs. You get in touch with your counterparts in the other companies, hashing out lines of advance, mortar concentrations, and other dreary but necessary details. Preparations continue. Night falls. Fitful sleep. Plus 10% planning bonus. The harsh sun blares down, but the ground beneath your feet is cool. Somewhere in the distance, artillery booms, and the acrid scent of cordite mixes with the stench of death. It is all too familiar, as is the fatigue that steps near. I know you, Captain Lamb. Stare at him. As is the figure that steps near. Captain. It is good to see you again, even if this must be brief, Captain Lamb says. At least, let us hope it's brief. There's sorrow in his eyes and blood in his jacket. I'm dreaming, aren't I? What's going on here? Wait for him to speak. I think, in a rare moment of lucidity, I'm gonna not be verbose and let him say what he has to say. You've been through a lot, and that lot isn't over, Captain Lamb says, and invites you to sit in a rocky outcropping. The stone there is uncomfortable, but your legs thank you for it anyway. Everyone takes it different. What's the worst part for you? Good men die and keep dying. Somehow the war isn't over, and plans don't always work. But not every hero earns a medal. The men obey and they still die. Well, here's the thing. This is basically purely a role-playing scene. I'm kind of giving myself therapy in my dreams, as it were, doing my best to. So, for me as a player, the thing that I'm most concerned about is good men die and keep dying. Like, you've seen how cautious I am, generally speaking, and you've seen me call it out every time I get greedy. But casualties haven't really been that bad, truthfully. I think I've lost, like... I think I've lost fewer than 20 men in my current 4 to 5 days of fighting. So, you know, that's pretty alright. So, I'm going to say my plans don't always work, because that's the part that hurts. That's the trouble about plans. Things change and they keep changing, Nim says. But while plans are pretty useless, planning isn't. That's what you gotta focus on one day. Maybe 1 hour, or even 1 minute at a time. The weight of it all looms over you. So this is a paraphrase of a historical quote that I want to say was Eisenhower. Plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. I'm almost certain that was Eisenhower. So that's what this is drawn from. How do I handle this? What's wrong with me? Shake my head. How do I handle this? Handle it like the others have. You ain't the first, and you won't be the last, Lamb says. But here's the trouble. What you need, you can't have. You're bleeding. Bleeding from your mind and from your soul. For you to heal, you need time to sort things out, but the war won't wait. Best you can do is slap on a bandage and try not to reopen old wounds. Some sort of temporary fix, that's it? Old wounds are all I've got. That's not an answer. What was your solution? I asked, knowing full well that this is not a ghost. This is just a dream. Didn't have one. Got shot and didn't need one, Captain Lamb says. When I got my commission, my father took me aside and told me how proud he was, that I was going to continue the family tradition. Or one of the traditions, anyway. See, he was an artilleryman and fought in the Big One. I almost substituted Big Red One there, but it occurs to me that's not what the text says. One day, early last November, he directed a fire mission and got the numbers wrong. That happens. Hope you regretted it. It's worse when it happens to civilians. Listen. A 7 might scrawl like a 1 or a 3 bends towards an 8. Doesn't take much to get something wrong, and it didn't. And it didn't, Lamb says. Couldn't change what had happened. Dead men stayed dead. The crippled didn't walk, the blind didn't see. He tried to make peace with it. Couldn't. Shouldn't. Bent himself trying to make sure it didn't happen again. That kept him going, and it kept me going too, trying to lift his shadow. So what's going to keep you going? If I give up, even more men will die. The war drags on. The longer the war drags on, the worse it'll be. I'll make things different next time. I'll write letters no one else can. Our losses must not be in vain. I'm going to say if I give up, even more men will die. Because ultimately that's the answer, right? I'm a cunning. Currently I'm up discipline, but my primary is cunning, and that's my way of it. If I give up, even more men will die. The men will be led by another captain who may not know his right from left, Captain Lamb says, and the men won't go forward how he wants. A distant clatter, voices, the waking world intrudes. Goodbye. I miss you. Too bad I won't see you again. Salute. I miss you. In sorrow find joy, Captain Lamb says as the dream begins to fade. Combat fatigue minus 50! Yes! Oh yeah! Dream therapy works! An explosion, far too close, jars you wide awake. Somewhere outside along the road, a fire burns. As you get up from your little cot, First Sergeant Grant pauses at the tent flap. Something hit a mine down the road, Captain. Looks like one of ours. You motion for him to go ahead while you pull your jacket on and grab your helmet. The flames are snuffed out by the time you approach a small crowd of GIs. Their small hand flashlights, fitted with red filters to dim the glow, dance about the silhouette of a smoking jeep. The driver and passengers, miraculously sitting upright and whole on the roadside, are tended to by medics. First Sergeant Grant leaves the recovery crew to throw handfuls of dirt onto any sudden flare of flame and hurries back over. Could be worse. There's coffee all over. Miracle that the mortar rounds in the trailer didn't go off, but everyone's still talking. One of them in full-on Italian, if you can believe it. Have the wounded treated. +1 prestige. Get the men dispersed now. Again, I'm not hard up for trust. So we'll go with the prestige. Have the wounded treated. First Sergeant Grant guides the medics forward. Thankfully, the enemy hasn't decided to add its own fireworks to the spectacle. Then again, maybe they don't want to reveal their artillery positions. At least they're ready to be moved to the nearest tent. Yours. There's a lot of stumbling about in the dark to be done until you get the flap closed up tight. When you turn up the lantern, you find a bloody lieutenant and a grinning Sicilian farmer who could be his brother. Thanks, boss, the officer says in a thick Bronx accent. Close one. It is 0300, just talk. For sanity's sake, tell me this involves a circus. Alright, start talking. I don't have time to talk, just spill it. For sanity's sake, tell me this involves a circus. Sarcasm +1. Wish dead, boss, the officer says and comes to attention. Ignacio Camara, 2nd Lieutenant, 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Battalion translator. He cocks a glance towards the farmer, who hastily salutes. This is Fabiano Falzone. He's been giving us directions. Hell of a guide. When you return the salute, the farmer relaxes. Who are they? What went wrong? That's enough for now. Something's happening with the music. I think we got 2 tracks loaded at once, and it's wreaking havoc with my brain here. Who are they? What went wrong? That's enough for now. What went wrong? Well, we went past your CP in the dark, and when Fabiano realized we were heading towards the bridge, he begged me to turn around, Lieutenant Camara says, and switches to Italian for a few words with Fabiano. The Sicilian farmer nods, then gestures broadly to show a sharp turn of the car, and wipes his brow in a stage swipe afterward. But apparently there was a mine on the shoulder of the road, and we hit it. Who are they? Militia forces, Lieutenant Camara says, then turns to the farmer and asks a question in rapid-fire Italian. Fabiano's response comes and goes until the two settle on a few consistent words. He's saying blackguards. That is how that word is pronounced. I think he means bad men. Si. Gonna do my best here. Gli uomini molto male. Fabiano replies and then puffs himself up big and takes a few hulking stage steps about the tent. Militia, huh? Machine guns, mortars, artillery? Fabiano is very helpful. Extra trust. Militia, huh? Machine guns, mortars, artillery? The two exchange a few quick words. Fabiano shakes his head to the last 2 questions, waves dramatically, holds up a single finger, then fires an intense explanation back. When the words end, he makes an odd, twilling whistle. They have a few machine guns, Lieutenant Camara translates after some thought. Apparently his Italian doesn't cover war terminology. Maybe those old harmonica guns of theirs. Ribolts? Are you talking about ribolts? Oh man, that'd be funny. No mortars that he could see and no artillery. At least there weren't any horses to pull the rigs and only one little car. You've done well with your guide. Trust +3, that's enough for now. You've done well with your guide. Yes, Captain, Lieutenant Camara replies. I almost feel guilty about lying to him. See, I said we were cousins. And though my family ties are kind of tangled around here, that might even be true. I don't know for certain. Hope he doesn't mind. The lieutenant offers Fabiano a smile, and the Sicilian farmer readily and infectiously returns. I like this guy. Fabiano, you're a good dude. This is not necessarily a picture of Fabiano. But this is a picture of a Sicilian farmer. That's enough for now. You dim the lantern and Camara guides Fabiano away, chattering away with every step. Through the flap you catch sight of Morris as the man fills canteen after canteen from a leaking barrel of coffee. Nearby, Patterson hefts a .30 cal machine gun for Sergeant Arthur to examine. Careful with that coffee, I'll need some later. Discuss the machine gun next. Can you hear the machine gun, Patterson? Discuss the machine gun next, leave them B +5 trust. Careful with that coffee, I'll need some later. Yes, Captain, PFC Morris says, never pausing his work, for Sergeant Grant said the same thing. Nearby, Sergeant Arthur traces a finger along the barrel of the Jeep's machine gun. Satisfied, he casts an inquiring glance your way. Could fix it, Captain. You want it? Have him prioritize the machine gun. Gain a machine gun. Have him work on the machine gun if practical. Chance of gaining a machine gun, +3 trust. Forget about salvaging the weapon. We have others to tend, +5 trust. Have him prioritize the machine gun. You explain things, and Tech Sergeant Arthur gives a little nod, not taking his eyes off the weapon. It certainly seems relatively intact after the mine blast, and you bet the man will have it ready before dawn. All in all, your men appear to have things well in hand, cooled coffee or not. You look at your watch. 03:30 hours. Time to wake the officers, cook what breakfast can be had over the little fires shielded by nearby gullies, and then get the platoon into position for the jump off. You have one last yawn to steady your nerve. Then you get to work. The mission, secure the town center. Oh, one objective. Alright. That's one objective missions are often slogs. The men suffer no more than moderate casualties. Oh no! Alright, alright. So the expectation is we'll get some mother-sons killed this battle. Understood. I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna operate the way I always do. You know, generally speaking, the men want no more than light or very light casualties. So far, I've mostly succeeded at that. So I'm gonna continue to do that. I'm gonna continue to focus on keeping casualties low, and we'll see how it goes. 0430, 11 July 1943, Palma di Montechiaro. Artillery booms in the distance as another day dawns in Sicily. The town is right over there. Disciplined. They sure are. Alright, let's see what we got. Lieutenant Wilson and Lieutenant Thompson both have a little suppression. Don't love that. Wish it weren't the case. So let's take a look at the map. Okay. Okay, no, it's not a one objective battle. It's a 4 objective battle. So the mission 1, 2, 3. Oh, interesting. So a major victory is only 2 objectives, and one of the objectives labeled required. And for the men, it's the same scale as always. Maybe I just misread. All right. Let me go back here. So this one's required, and this one's required. Now, I don't need to get both. I don't need to get all 4. I only need to get 2 objectives. So this is going to be interesting. So, I do not have a lot of cover. Got a lot of orchards here, so I think sneaking in behind them is going to be the way. We got an Italian regular squad here, another here, and an MG here. And they've got visibility to all of us, so that's going to be a real shit show. They can't see any of this, though. So sending these battalions around this way might be the right call. This MG, however, is covering the road, and that's a giant problem. Okay, so this is going to be tough. With that having been said, that is actually a half an hour. So that is all the time we've got for this episode. So yeah, so when things get when we get going for next episode, we'll get things started. But for now, I've had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I will see you on the other side.